All right, you groovy grasshoppers, and I do mean groovy. We've got the great Molly Morgan here and Mark Puttenvink, myself, Tom Laidlaw. All right, so this is the team we put together for our Roscoe Mountain Club. What are we going to call this? Seminars we're putting together? Is that what we're going to call this? Seminars?
Health and Wellness Weekend Retreat.
Very good. Very good. Mark. So it's a miracle, guys. Mark wanted to take his shirt off. I made him put his jacket on. They wanted him showing off. So Molly is the new. Molly, what's the name of your company? Do you have a company name?
Creative Nutrition Solutions.
That's right. Okay. So Molly's going to be our registered nutritionist. Is that the correct pronunciation or words to use?
Sure. Registered dietitian technically, but it's all good.
Okay, good. Mark has his company, Patriot Training Systems, where he's trained everybody from the president, like from Vladimir Putin to UFOs up into space. Like you've done everything. There's nothing.
We just got done back here with some Martians a few minutes ago.
Martians. There you go. Good. So we put this team together again under True Good Life. This team has been put together to go up to Roscoe Mountain Club. They got a fantastic resort up there, 1,000 acres, housing, lakes, outdoor rink, pickleball, a great kitchen for Molly to cook in too. Oh man, that's a nice kitchen. Very, very jealous. I told you this, right? So my first wife, I've had two of those, Molly. First one, I had bought a nice piece of land, an acre land in Pauling, New York on a lake. And all I wanted to do was build this log cabin, a big stone fireplace and everything. My ex-wife got a hold of it, turned into a 5,000 square foot monstrosity. It was spiral staircase and marble tile. And I got divorced from her. Like, what happened to my log cabin? Then we go up to the birdhouse up there at Roscoe Mountain. It's exactly what I wanted to build, like the log cabin, the stone fireplace, the nice kitchen, and like that's really cool.
I think it's gorgeous.
Yes, it is.
And the lake house as well, right?
Yes. So we're going to start doing this show on a regular basis. And again, we'll go back and forth, ask each other questions and everything. But basically, it'll be like Molly will put on a segment on nutrition, healthy food, healthy cooking. And Mark will do fitness. And then mine more is the mental health part of it, motivation. Mark is in. So here's one of our famous listeners right here. He's up in Cooperstown, New York. Barry. Molly, he was in Binghamton this past weekend with that ASHA. No, it was the Warriors. Yeah. Yes.
That looked awesome.
Your friend, the Pierce is there. Pierce, right? P-I-E-R.
Yeah.
All right. So Molly, can I start off by asking you a question?
Sure.
How are you really big on like Mark and I have had talked about this in the past. So obviously you did a little piece on this where like talking about sugar. And so obviously you don't want to have too much sugar, too much salt. Are you big on trying to eliminate stuff like salt from your diet altogether? Or is it just in moderation that you have it?
Yeah. As we get talking, and I'd love to hear also for folks listening, questions that you have, we'll try to answer them. But as we get talking more, you'll hear a lot of me saying the word moderation. So salt actually is a really important mineral in terms of fluid balance in our body. If you're an active person, an athlete, you're going to be losing a lot of salt through your sweat. So we certainly wouldn't want somebody cutting salt out altogether. And same with sugar. Sugar actually is broken down as a source of fuel, and glucose actually is the number one source of fuel for our brains. So we definitely need sugar, we need salt, but it all comes down to what foods we're getting those from. And we can talk for hours on that.
So Barry asks, I only use sea salt. Is there a better salt? Is there a good or bad salt? Is there a good or bad sugar?
Yeah. So sea salt is actually a really great source of salt or sodium because you get trace minerals with sea salt. Regardless of what type of salt you choose, you're still going to be getting the same amount of sodium. So you can't think of it as like, oh, I'm cutting back on my salt intake if that's something you're trying to do with sea salt, but you will get some trace minerals. And that's why sea salt often has like, if you get Himalayan sea salt, like that pinkish color, that's from minerals actually. That's where sea salt gets its coloring.
So how about additives and preservatives in a lot of foods? I've started using that Yucca app, the YUKA, like go to Costco, whatever, and it's, you scan it and it tells you like a lot of the Costco foods, the Kirkland brand has a lot of additives and preservatives, right? Because they have to store the foods for a long time. Bad stuff for you, right?
Yeah, well, here's the thing. Preservatives actually have a really important role in our food supply, obviously, to help foods stay shelf stable and safe and whatnot. So it's all about balance when it comes to that. But certainly if you could choose, for example, frozen strawberries that are literally just frozen strawberries over frozen strawberries that have some sort of sauce or preservatives and things added to it, you're going to be better off with that whole fruit, those strawberries.
And do you feel like you can trust the labels that are on the food, the nutrition labels on the food, that all the stuff that they say is in there is really in there, and all the stuff that is not in there is not listed there? If I said that properly.
One thing that gets a little tricky with food labels, and I think companies are doing a better job at this, is actually additives that might not be in the food itself, but are in the packaging. So you'll see on a lot of canned goods now, for example, no BHT, which is a preservative in the liner of the can. So it gets a little tricky in that regard. But as far as like ingredients in food, whole products are recalled if it is determined they do not have accurate labeling. So there is a lot of scrutiny and oversight in our nutrition labeling, which is really for all of our benefit. I think you can truly trust food labels. There is a very strict process companies must go through. You can't just, make up what's on your food label. There's very strict penalties should you do that.
Right. All right, we'll bounce around a little bit here. We'll go to the Sven over in Sweden. Sven Puttenvik from Sweden.
Yeah.
How are you doing there, brother? How are you?
Good, man.
Good. All right, fitness. Let's talk about fitness.
So, obviously we get a bit of snow today, and I'm disappointed. I forgot to put my watch on because I wanted to see how many calories I burned shoveling. It's kind of wet snow. My whole thing is there's no excuse not to be training with any condition. So obviously the snow shoveling, it's a workout. And then what I'll do is I'll come here. Gyms are closed probably today, so I'll come here to the monkey bars, and I'll do. Again, there's really no reason you can't get your workout in. So I'll just come here. It's kind of low, but I'll do some pull-ups. I'll bend my knees up. I'm gonna try to make like an L, so it's a lot of core work as well. And I just start pumping out some pull-ups, and I'll do 3 or 4 sets of 10 or whatever. And hey, man, it's a lot of fun, and I'm really getting a good workout in.
So shoveling snow. So let's say it's an older person, like 60, 65, really not in great shape, not in terrible shape. He's out shoveling snow. Should they be careful? Heart attacks?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So in other words, we want to make sure that whatever we're doing in the gym, outside of the gym, that you've been to a doctor, that you're cleared to be able to do this work, that you don't have any kind of metabolic or cardiovascular issues that you have to deal with. So you have to take that into account. But if you are healthy, regardless of what age you are, there's no excuse to miss a workout because of weather. And I particularly, Tom, you and I and Molly, Tom and I more so because we're older, we've been in the gyms for our whole life. And it gets a little bit stale after a bit. So that's why I still go to the gym, don't get me wrong, but I like to be creative. And I like to do stuff outside, especially in the woods. And it makes your brain think, and how I can be creative to get that workout in. And it's just a whole different dynamic to it. And I love it. And
how many days?
That's why I'm really excited about Roscoe, Tom. We got 1,000 acres up there.
Yeah,
we could do some hiking. I'm going to scout it. I'm going to find places we could do pull-ups on tree limbs and all kinds of great stuff.
You're a sick puppy. You know that, right?
Yes, I am. Yeah.
How many days a week should a 40-year-old person, 40-year-old male, how many days a week should they train?
Well, again, it depends on their fitness level. You can train every day. And that's when we start talking about exercise snacks. And I think I spoke about this before, where if you do a very intense 3 to 4 minutes a day, that's it, 3 to 4 minutes a day of very intense work. So pick one movement, jumping jacks, squats, whatever it is, you're going to improve your mitochondrial health. And your mitochondria is the powerhouse of your cell. And it's anti-aging, and it really improves your health. And also 3 to 4 minutes a day, it's shown to reduce your mortality by 25 to 30%. If you can get 9 to 12 minutes a day, reduce your mortality by 40 to 50%. And, so I'm a businessman, let's say, and I'm in my office, 3 minutes, whatever I do, I'm not going to break a sweat, but I'm going to get the work in, and I'm still in my suit. I go back to my desk. So instead of spending 3 minutes to go get a cup of coffee and commiserate with somebody, take 3 minutes, step to the side of your desk, do some burpees, do something, and then go back to work. And if you do that 3 or 4 times a day, even 3 times a day, look, man, you're reducing that mortality by like 40 to 50%, which is amazing. 80% of critical illness is lifestyle. 80%. So that's only 20% is either hereditary or other factors, but 80% of critical illness can be prevented by just changing your lifestyle.
I was
Well,
holding up my phone there, Mark. I don't know if you could see
No, I
because
couldn't see.
I don't know about you guys, but I think I love when I hear you say like 3 to 4 minutes or those little. I like the reference, of course, my food background of snacks,
Yeah.
exercise snacks, because if you start to look at your phone usage, if anybody tells me they can't find 3 to 4 minutes in their
Yeah.
day, I mean, yeah.
And
That's
the
great.
beauty of it is, again, you don't have to get to the gym. So I used to box. So what I'll do, say it's a miserable day, I can't get to the gym or I'm compressed for time, I'll just do a 3-minute round, or I'll do two rounds maybe of really intense shadow boxing, and I really get my heart rate up. And that's it, man. I'm done. That's my exercise snack. I move on. I do something else.
Okay, exercise snack. What does that include, Molly?
You mean like literal snack food?
Yes, like what's a good snack to eat so it fills you up, you've got energy, but it's healthy for you too.
Yeah, so here's a really interesting thing. When you are eating before a workout, we want quick digesting energy, because if you have something that's really high in fat or really high in fiber, it'll just kind of sit in your stomach. And I know maybe you've made that mistake before, but so really quick digesting things, something like a banana, for example. It's extremely portable, it's quick, it's inexpensive. Potassium, a great mineral for muscle contraction. So a banana sits easy on the stomach, quick, easy to digest energy. And you'd want to have that ideally, if you can time things, about a half hour before, but that's really a very individual tolerant type thing. That's one of my favorite go-to pre-workout.
Good debate here. I saw a debate on a video the other day where one guy was saying that when you blend your foods, like a banana, for example, you put it in a blender, that you lose some of the nutrition to it. And the other guy says, no, that's not true at all. It's still the same nutrition. Is it?
Where you would lose nutrients in a blender is if you were juicing. So I'm actually not a huge fan of juicing, because you're leaving behind, if you watch what comes out of a juicer, like it's obviously, just a nice thin clear liquid, and all that stuff you've left behind, the pulp, the fiber, the skin of the, fruit or vegetable, there's so much nutrition packed in that. So that would be something I would agree with if you were juicing. Otherwise, if you literally take, a high powered blender and put your banana, some peanut butter and yogurt and blend that all up, no, you're absolutely still getting all those nutrients. So I think that's probably a myth, I would say. Or if there's data out there, somebody send it to me, because I'm always happy to learn something new.
Yeah, this guy was very adamant in saying that no, there is no data out there that says that's the case, that it is the same way you eat it. Do you know that when I freeze my bananas, I freeze with the skin on, and when I put them in the blender, I leave the skin on?
Supposedly,
really? I tried it. Supposedly, it's like 30% more nutrients in the skin.
Yeah,
more fiber in that. So,
I usually peel mine, but that's a great tip.
Yeah.
Hey, Tom,
Mark,
going back to the exercise snacks. Like when you played hockey, you had a warm up before the game, correct?
Yes, we had warm up. Yes.
Yeah. So here's a great story. David Goggins. Everybody knows, or if you don't know who David Goggins is, he's a former SEAL. He's a pretty popular guy now. He's a real strong motivational guy. He runs these super marathons, like 135-mile marathons in 24 hours. And anyhow, he ran into a guy by the name of Jerry Eitzler. And Jerry is a wealthy guy, made his money with coconut water. And then anyway, he hired Goggins for a month to live with him. And he says, I want your special sauce. I want to find out what you do every day. I want that. And he did. David Goggins moved in with him. And wherever Jerry went, even to work, Goggins was by his side. And one day they're sitting in the office, and Eitzler had a meeting in about 20 minutes. And Goggins looks up and says, burpee test. He goes, what? He says, burpee. How many burpees can you give me in 10 minutes? And he did it. And again, he was in his suit, but he was so charged up after doing that, he went into that meeting and he smashed it. So I kind of looked at it like a pregame warm-up, So, we all get, if you're sitting at your workstation and you're not moving around, you're going to get sleepy. Get up, even if it's a minute, just shadow box or do some push-ups, do some jump jacks, move, and then you're going to get fired up and you'll be able to really keep going through the day, and you'll avoid those lulls of energy throughout the day, and you're getting in shape.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that. I didn't know he did that. He was with him for a month. Wow, that must have cost him.
Yeah, he hired him for a month. And they said, "What's that like?" I said, "Well, it's David Goggins here at 4:30 in the morning. Get up, we're going for a 20-mile
Let's
run."
go.
Yeah.
So Molly, I forgot to say that you worked for the Ottawa Senators. How many years? 14 years?
14 seasons, yeah.
Right. So obviously you're dealing with some highly motivated athletes that want to get better all the time. But let's say like you go an average person, you can teach them all about diet, what good foods are, what they should eat, what they shouldn't eat. But the motivation part of it, is that something that you deal with a lot too? Because you can tell men they want it, they just don't do it. If it's not disciplined enough, it's just not going to work, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So I always say, knowledge is power, but actually your action is what get things done. Because you can, like, if you know you need to eat more fruits and vegetables, but you look at your shopping cart when you leave the grocery store and there's nothing from the produce section in your cart, you're not going to eat more fruits and vegetables. I don't mean to like oversimplify it, but I've actually developed, I call it 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, a 5-step kind of daily check-in that people can use to kind of cue their brain. And there's tons of research actually, from a mental health perspective and, to just kind of, if you're kind of going down a path of, hey, I know I probably shouldn't be in this drive-through lane right now, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then you kind of walk through, am I hitting those targets nutritionally? And we can get into those in upcoming, times where we're chatting. But yeah, motivation is huge. And I think my biggest tip I can give people, and Mark, and I would say probably Tom too, with your stuff, is, if you were off kilter, so to speak, for a meal or snack, is the next meal or snack, get back to your plan. Don't let it become a snowball situation where, you now need a winter hat like Mark to get yourself out of, a really downward spiral with your food routine, because it's easy to do, but that I think is the best advice when I can get people out of that, downward spiral situation. Just next meal or snack, get back at it.
Right. And I'm not big on diets either. Like I'm more big like a disciplined lifestyle, right? So people come to me and they say, well, I want to lose weight. But I say, okay, what do you get up at a certain time in the morning? Do you have a disciplined lifestyle? I said, if you want to just flip the switch now and have discipline in your diet, that's tougher to do. If you have a disciplined lifestyle where again, you don't have to be totally rigid. Like I'm up at 3:30 every day, 3:53 video. I'd go to the extreme. You don't have to be like that. You don't have to be like Mark, sick puppy he is. But it's more, I say that as a compliment too, but it's more, again, if you have that disciplined lifestyle, then the diet just kind of flows along with that. It's not just changing your life around. So discipline is that key word. And you're right, motivation, but that motivation is going to come and go, having discipline. And that's something like David Goggins that Mark talked about before. That's what he preaches a lot too, that you have to have discipline, right? And again, knowing that you're not going to be perfect. You are going to have bad meals. You're going to have bad days. Don't hate yourself over that. Don't beat yourself up over it. Okay, I want to ask both of this too. The scale. I don't like the scale. I say like have the scale, but only use it once a month. What do you think, Mark?
Well, the scale is just a number. It doesn't tell me body fat percentage. It doesn't tell me muscle mass. It doesn't tell me my BMI. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's scales you can buy that do, but the number itself, you could be 150 pounds at 17% body fat or 150 pounds at 10% body fat. So the number is irrelevant, really. It's what your condition is, what your health is, and what your body fat and all those other factors that lead into overall health and wellness, and fitness.
Yeah.
Molly, what do you think?
Couldn't agree more. And I'm going to give you two examples, two kind of extremes. I've been doing this a long time. I've been a dietitian for 24 years. And, you mentioned, Tom, working with a bunch of pro athletes. If we actually look at the body mass index or just the scale number for a pro athlete, and we don't need you to divulge your playing weight, Tom, but, a lot of guys might be 230 pounds, but they have, to your point, Mark, about 7 to 10% body fat and are active for hours per day. And it's an absolutely healthy place for them to be. But if I put them on a chart, it would actually tell me that they're overweight, but I would never try to, lower their body weight. The other extreme is, believe it or not, I've had women, particularly, I'll use as an example, and I'm not picking on women here. 5'5" lady comes in. She's thin by standards of charts, and she had high cholesterol, high blood pressure, just was an absolute mess with her overall health. So it's not just about that number. And I actually agree with you. I personally get on the scale maybe once a month just to kind of see where I'm at. And, you know, I don't ever recommend people get on the scale much more frequently than that.
Yeah,
I always tell people if they're looking for body recomposition, take a photo and then don't look at it, put it away. 30 days later, after eating right and training right, take another photo and you'll see the improvements or lack of improvements you're making. It's really that simple.
Yeah.
I went
Mark,
to
also,
apply.
you
Go
could
ahead,
cover
Molly.
this better than I probably, but I think it's fascinating that muscle weighs 3 times more than fat.
Absolutely.
So also, as you're training harder, you might be actually sometimes gaining weight
weight.
on the scale, but you're
100%
gaining
correct.
muscle, which, you know, in comparison looks like this compared to 3 pounds of fat. And you're shrinking, you know, you're wearing a different size pants, or to your point, you're visually looking different. So
Yeah, that's a really great point. I always tell people, don't be concerned about what you weigh on the scale unless you have a fight coming up and you got to make weight. There's no other reason to be on that scale, quite honestly.
Yeah. I went to apply for life insurance one time, and I was in great shape, but my weight was high. I was in shape, it was more muscle, and they told me I was obese. They would give me insurance.
Yeah, those were all based upon actuary charts that were made probably in the 1950s when we knew far less than we do now.
those charts were made by insurance companies, actually.
Yeah.
Fun fact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't that true, right? Like so much stuff. I'm not getting into a political debate here, but there's so much stuff that we get fed all these things, right? The people want to make money off us, so they're saying like, okay, I was obese, or this food's good for you. McDonald's is cheaper. Okay, let's go through McDonald's. Is there anything in McDonald's, Molly, that's edible, that's healthy?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll just use this as a generic, for example, of any drive-through lane. Actually, my son and I were coming back from skiing the other night. It was like 8:30 at night. He was super hungry. I was super hungry. We went through a drive-through lane, and I got this beautiful, actually, Cobb salad.
Oh,
I don't personally eat meat, so I just asked them to hold the chicken and bacon. And it was absolutely loaded with vegetables. It was super colorful. I kind of wish I took a photo of it, actually.
yeah.
I drizzled just a tiny bit of dressing on it that came in the packet. And yeah, I mean, you can absolutely get some better for you choices. But you know, you're certainly going to make out better if you have your own food at home. I love, like you say, Tom, you know, you're as clean as you cook. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Mark, sleep. How important is sleep?
Incredibly important. You know, that's when your body repairs all the micro trauma you've done. So when you're lifting weights, you're actually causing micro trauma to the muscle, and those repairs occur at night. You know, I don't want to get into the weeds, but branched chain amino acids, and there's a whole compensation, super compensation events that occur. But yeah, sleep is absolutely incredibly important. You know, how much sleep? At least 6 to 8 hours a night. And then here's another thing. If you have the opportunity, not everyone has this opportunity, but if you have an opportunity, and a study just came out, it adds to your longevity. If you can get in a 12 to 20 minute nap one per day or 2 per day, if you can find the time to do it, incredibly healthy for you.
I watched some reel on someplace where it was, the guy was talking about how starting to sleep and stopping to sleep actually hurts you. So if you can't get just one long sleep, it's better to have just one sleep instead of going on and off. Buy into that at all?
Well, I think, yeah. I mean, I think what he might be speaking to is like if you're getting up multiple times throughout the night when you're trying to sleep. I'm assuming, I don't know. I'd have to really look at what he's writing. But no, I mean, if you look at many cultures, the siesta, I mean, there's a reason they did that. You know, and they did it during the midday sun when it was incredibly hot. But and whether they knew the health benefits or not, there was an incredible health benefit to it. Yeah.
All right, last
Your
subject.
pregame nap,
Molly.
Tom. You did it for years, right?
I know, I love that pregame nap.
There you go.
3-hour nap. Ooh,
Yeah.
Man, that was a tradition in the National Hockey League, having a 3-hour nap. Right,
Still
close
is.
the window,
Yeah, still is.
turn the air conditioning on. All right, fasting. This is our last subject here. Fasting. Are you a proponent or opponent, Molly, of fasting?
It is a great tool for some people. And why I kind of segment that very strongly is I've had, you know, very elite competitive athletes try to get 4,000 to 5,000 calories in a narrow window in their day. And it's really hard to meet your energy needs. Now, for somebody who's at a desk working 8 to 10 plus hours per day, and they want to do a narrow window of eating, 6 to 8 hours, depending on what fasting format, I think it can be very effective. And what I've seen, it really helps. Some people struggle big time eating at night. So if you're listening and this is you, looking at a narrow window of eating and literally just after 5 or 6 or whatever your timing window looks like, you're done. Sometimes it's easier to just not have a food decision. Some people just get into a real bad habit at night, because they're bored, they're stressed, or all sorts of things. So I think it's a very effective tool for some people.
Mark, your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. And again, it gets back to what are you trying to accomplish? Are you looking at body recomposition? Are you looking at the autophagy effect of fasting? And the autophagy is the cellular repair that occurs in a fasted state. So, there's different types of fast. There's the 16-8, which is 16 hours not eating and then an 8-hour window. Then there's the 72-hour or 48-hour or 5-day fast. Those are severe. No, I shouldn't say it's just severe. They're intense. You can't do those repetitively, maybe 1 or 2 a year. And there's an incredible health benefit to that as well. So it depends what your goal is. And to Molly's point, if you're an athlete, there's really no reason to be fasting per se, because you can't consume enough, especially if you're young and an athlete. You just can't consume enough calories to meet the demands of your energy level.
Yeah.
There seems to be a wide range of opinions on how soon autophagy actually
occurs. Yeah, no, I agree. I think the general rule of thumb is somewhere between that 12 and 16 hours.
Right.
And then again, the further you stretch it out, the longer period of time you're under a state of autophagy.
So
What
when
would be fun,
somebody's-
guys, is we should challenge each other and do like collectively, the three of us
Yeah.
do a specific window of fasting
Sure.
at the same time, and we could kind of talk about our experiences and
Sure.
Yeah. That'd be cool. Yeah, that'd be cool. I had one trainer that I was in the gym. He was talking. He thinks he raises his HGH level when he fasts, but he thinks it doesn't start until after 3 days, and that's what he thinks autophagy.
Well, there may be some truth to that. Most of your HGH is released when you're sleeping, and that's why babies sleep so much. That's why they sleep for hours and hours and hours, because they're releasing so much growth hormone. And growth hormone as we age, especially, is a very important factor in our longevity, our overall health, our bone density, our skin. So yeah, it's really important to get that HGH release.
And Molly, do you agree that with healthy foods, like we really don't need pharmaceuticals as much, that we can eat healthy foods as our pharmaceuticals?
Yeah. A few times I was going to kind of chime in on my perspective here, so I'll throw that out. Is I am a food first, supplement second perspective. So, you were mentioning human growth hormone, HGH. There is no need for somebody to be supplementing with a solid routine. You do not, and it's prohibited in a lot of situations, but branched chain amino acids, we kind of touched on those briefly. Mark, I think you mentioned them. You can really, through a quality eating routine, get a majority of what you need. Now, don't get me wrong. I have my toolbox of go-to supplements that have a time and a place and purpose. And I definitely do recommend supplements from time to time, but it always should be, as the word supplement means, really an addition to what you're doing, not a crutch, not a replacement for something else.
And I guess the hard part with supplements is you really don't know what's in the supplements either, right? Because they're not regulated at all.
Yeah, it's like the Wild West. And I actually have a very narrow list of companies that I personally recommend, because they're third-party tested supplements, not only for my elite athletes, but truly for anyone, because at least they're going through another step to tell you what the label says is in it, which is super important, because if you think you're getting a good deal on a supplement, it's probably not worth taking.
Right.
Yeah.
Mark, where are you at in supplements?
Well, I agree with Molly 100% with everything she just said. And to add on, the FDA doesn't regulate supplements. The only thing they'll say is you cannot claim a research-backed claim saying it's going to do this, that, and the other thing for you. And since it's not regulated, if you're taking 30 grams or 3 grams or 300 grams, you have no idea. And to the point where and it's a while back, but when I was with New York, it was an Olympic year, and the Olympic committee came in and said, don't have your guys that are playing in the Olympics have any protein shakes. I'm like, why not protein shakes? He said, because it's an unregulated industry, and it was a bike, like a Tour de France dude who tested positive for ephedrine. And the reason he did was because he was drinking protein shakes from a company that didn't clean out the actuator bins really well. And there were some trace elements of ephedrine in what he thought was just a protein drink. So that just highlights how it's a wild, like the wild west, like Molly said. There's no regulation. And here's the last thing, and I tell this to all the kids, is that if you look at any kind of magazine, muscle magazine, and you'll see all these bodybuilders and athletes and CrossFit people, they're clearly doing steroids. And they're saying, well, I use this ABC product, and this is the results. It's just garbage, because if any one of those products truly worked, everybody'd be doing them,
Mm-hmm.
And so it's marketing, and it's like a couple $1 billion business. Yeah.
Good job. Great job, guys. We're going to do this every week at this. Actually, we're going to try to go to 10 o'clock every Tuesday. Is that correct, everybody?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for adjusting today. I was doing a bit of traveling this morning.
That's right. You were skiing again, were you?
I wasn't skiing, actually. Saw the coolest concert last night down in Woodstock, New York at Levon Helm's place there. It was amazing.
Wow. Who was there? Who was playing?
Big Head Todd and the Monsters. It's a band from the 90s, and just so fun, great music, and just it's like 150 people in there. It's amazing.
Very cool.
Very cool.
I like that. All right, guys. We'll see you next week, Tuesday at 10 o'clock a.m. Great job, everybody. Again, we'll have this all the time. If everybody has questions, please write those in for us.
Yeah, send us questions. I can't wait to answer them.
Very good.
Molly, just maybe next week you could give us those your approved supplement list, because I'd be interested in seeing that as well.
Oh yeah, I'll give you my toolbox next week.
Very good.
Cool.
All right, guys. Great job. We'll see you next week.